The philosophic science of right has as its object the idea of right, i.e., the conception of right and the realization of the conception. Remark: philosophy has to do with ideas or realized thoughts, and hence not with what we have been accustomed to call mere conceptions. It has indeed to exhibit the one-sidedness and untruth of these mere conceptions, and to show that, while that which commonly bears the name conception is only an abstract product of the understanding, the true conception alone has reality and gives this reality to itself. Everything, other than the reality which is established by the conception, is transient surface existence, external attribute, opinion, appearance void of essence, untruth, delusion, and so forth. Through the actual shape, Gestaltung, which it takes upon itself in actuality, is the conception itself understood. This shape is the other essential element of the idea, and is to be distinguished from the form, which exists only as conception, Begriff. Addition. The conception and its existence are two sides, distinct yet united, like soul and body. The body is the same life as the soul, and yet the two can be named independently. A soul without a body would not be a living thing, and vice versa. Thus, the visible existence of the conception is its body, just as the body obeys the soul which produced it. Seeds contain the tree and its whole power, though they are not the tree itself. The tree corresponds accurately to the simple structure of the seed. If the body does not correspond to the soul, it is defective. The unity of visible existence and conception of body and soul is the idea. It is not a mere harmony of the two, but their complete interpenetration. There lives nothing which is not in some way idea. The idea of right is freedom, which, if it is to be apprehended truly, must be known both in its conception and in the embodiment of the conception. Section 2. The science of right is a part of philosophy. Hence it must develop the idea, which is the reason of an object, out of the conception. It is the same thing to say that it must regard the peculiar internal development of the thing itself. Since it is a part, it has a definite beginning, which is the result and truth of what goes before, and this that goes before constitutes its so-called proof. Hence the origin of the conception of right falls outside of the science of right. The deduction of the conception is presupposed in this treatise, and is to be considered as already given. Addition. Philosophy forms a circle. It has, since it must somehow make a beginning, a primary, directly given matter, which is not proved, and is not a result. But this starting point is simply relative, since from another point of view it appears as a result. Philosophy is a consequence, which does not hang in the air or form a directly new beginning, but is self-enclosed. According to the formal, unphilosophic method of the sciences, definition is the first desideratum, as regards at least the external scientific form. The positive science of right, however, is little concerned with definition, since its special aim is to give what it is that is right, and also the particular phases of the laws. For this reason it has been said as a warning, omnis definitio in jure civili periculosa, any definition in civil law is dangerous. And in fact, the more disconnected and contradictory the phases of a right are, the less possible is a definition of it. A definition should contain only universal features, but these forthwith bring to light contradictions, which in the case of law are injustice in all their nakedness. Thus, in Roman law, for instance, no definition of man was possible because it excluded the slave. The conception of man was destroyed by the fact of slavery. In the same way, to have defined property and owner would have appeared to be perilous to many relations. But definitions may perhaps be derived from etymology, for the reason, principally, that in this way special cases are avoided, and a basis is found in the feeling and imaginative thought of men. The correctness of a definition would thus consist in its agreement with existing ideas. By such a method, everything essentially scientific is cast aside. As regards the content, there is cast aside the necessity of the self-contained and self-developed object, and as regards the form there is discarded the nature of the conception. In philosophic knowledge, the necessity of a conception is the main thing, and the process, by which it, as a result, has come into being, is the proof and deduction. After the content is seen to be necessary independently, the second point is to look about for that which corresponds to it in existing ideas and modes of speech. But the way in which a conception exists in its truth, and the way it presents itself in random ideas, not only are but must be different both in form and structure. If a notion is not in its content false, the conception can be shown to be contained in it, and to be already there in its essential traits.